if they're targeting, let's say, the war in Iraq or the Bush administration
Yeah.
carrying out the war in Iraq.
Yeah.
When I went to places, they were talking about let's pull out of the war, and not even talking about politics. The issue is let's get troops out of there. People tend to focus on getting the troops instead of saying, yeah, Bush is not the smartest man, so let's pull out.
Yeah. If I could paraphrase your point for the world, what you're saying is very well taken, that one of the things that allows you to be nonpartisan is to not be ad hominem, as we say in the legal world. It's not the person, it's the problem. And as you know, I think this is one of the 2 or 3 most basic principles in nonviolence. It's up there with means and the ends are the same. The person is not the problem. It's got to be really, really basic principle. And yeah, there's some value in reminding yourself that the reminders do help. Now, from the earliest days, David was reminding me that there's a film called The Force More Powerful, a 2-volume PBS series on nonviolent uprisings since Gandhi. These are really professional filmmakers. It makes our DVD look a little bit sick, but these guys went and got some really amazing footage. And they have some footage of trainings in the civil rights movement. You know, it's grainy, black and white, cameras shaking around, but you see Jim Farmer walking people through what they call role plays. Now, I used to be very snobbish and think that role plays don't work, and then I was in one. And I was to play the part of somebody sitting on a counter stool in one of those lunch counters, and then there were these people behind me who were making believe that they were rednecks. And guess what? I think this guys got a little out of hand. I think they actually believed it, and I felt like I was in a certain amount of trouble, as a matter of fact. I mean, I was surrounded by Quakers. I knew nothing serious could happen to me. But what I want to say is that if you put yourself into a role even of acting out, even if the situation isn't real, the same emotions come up to some degree, and you can process those emotions. So then when you go into the scene, and it happens in the real world, it's just the reality for you is the same. It's your emotions that you have to deal with. It's a little bit like that finding that they discovered that when you see images of violence, the damage done by those images, it makes absolutely no difference whether you think you're watching the news and it's really happened, or whether you think you're watching entertainment. Absolutely no difference. The violence is the same. The damage is the same. The only thing that matters to the damage is deeper human relationships hurt more when you violate. I mean, violations of like family bonds and things like that, you see those in entertainment. That's going to hurt more than perfect strangers. But it makes no difference that your conscious mind thinks or does not think that the thing is actually happening. It is actually happening for you. Yeah, well, I think it comes from a violation of human unity. You see a family and you participate in the unity of that family. When that unity is torn apart, part of you is torn apart. You feel it in your own psyche. It's getting into some deep philosophy here that I should say for this afternoon, because I have to talk to a bunch of freshmen this afternoon about Stephen Hawking's book, A Brief History of Time. But not to belittle the question, it is a very important one. Our whole thing here is predicated on the fact that unity among human beings is a reality that we all are aware of. And in the last semester, we talked about some of the new scientific evidence that we actually do perceive one another's emotions on even in our own nervous system. So in a way, that whole fabric of our beings, physiological, mental, is ruptured. Now, this is an important point because that means that the soldiers who are standing there getting the demonstration out of the way, they're hurting from what they're doing. So you can appeal to that. And that's a good way to get over the partisanship and hatred. Okay. So this is one of the key areas that we've had to try to understand and develop in the world of third-party nonviolent intervention. Okay, what else did you pick up last night? Marisa, anything you'd like to share?
Well, you touched on it a bit, but definitely felt that when you had to, I think the speaker was expecting that when you had truth and justice on your side, you have to hide.
Yes.
And that's why you can answer any questions.
Yes.
It's like when if you don't want to answer a question and you don't want to speak in, or
Yeah.
you have to hide.
Yeah.
And then why you question what you're doing.
Yep. After all is said and done, this is satyagraha we're talking about. We're clinging to truth. So you should be able to do most everything that you do openly. You remember that there are some times when you do have to finesse this, or doing something openly doesn't necessarily refer to the facts of the situation. We talked about a German Catholic priest who was hiding people, and he lied about it to the Gestapo, and he was challenged later on, why did you lie? That's a sin. And he said the whole system was a lie. You know, it didn't make any sense saying something that was factually correct in a system like that. But that finesse aside, I think Muhammad spoke to that very well, that truth and justice is on their side. Or I would go even further and say, if you believe truth and justice is on your side and you're willing to test it, that's enough. Because if you say the truth is on my side, you're on your way to being an untruthful, an ideological person. But if you say, I am fully confident that the truth is on our side, and I'm willing to change my mind if you convince me otherwise, but until you've done that, I believe the truth is on my side, and therefore I have nothing to hide, and that gives a person a certain kind of power, and a movement a certain kind of power. Yeah, he was very good on that point. Okay. Other things, John, anything that you... Okay, that happens to me too. Oh, was that a cat he was talking about? Yeah. Oh, he answered that question wrong, I think. Someone in the audience who was obviously a Zionist and was taking copious notes challenged Muhammad by saying that yesterday in Lebanon, some Hamas terrorists slit somebody's throat off in the forest. And now you're telling us that you're nonviolent. Now what I would have said, incidentally, Muhammad said he wants to come here and do an MA, so that's going to be pretty cool. What I would have said was, I said we were nonviolent. I didn't say that every Arab in the world was nonviolent. Okay, let's off the top of my head. Ted Bundy, the serial killer. I happen to know about this guy because he read my book when he was getting ready to be executed, and we were actually corresponding for a while. Boy, that was hairy. I almost became Sister Helen Prejean there for a minute. But okay, here's Ted Bundy. He killed, 21 nurses or something like that. Does that mean that all Americans are serial killers? See, this is how prejudice works. You take the worst example of a group and you characterize the whole group by that example. But their English is not so great. He didn't quite understand it. What he said was, if the Israelis had come here and treated us as come here as guests, we would have welcomed them, given them water, asked about their kids, all the rest of it. They came here and reduced us to the state. We don't even have water, literally. Obviously, you get angry and you fight back. What do you expect? Yeah, that was the point he was making. Okay. Did you notice anything that? You could remind me of your name. Emily. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I just in general was struck by how unenergy it was
Whoa, that was
very
amazing.
powerful.
Yeah.
It was just astounding to me because there was so much energy and tension in that one room in
Yeah.
the 2 hours that we were there.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine living in there
Yes.
all the time, times 100.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
the power that
Mhm.
it takes to be nonviolent,
Right.
to fully support that. And
Right.
it was very powerful because
Yeah.
there's so much injustice.
Yeah.
And, they both did an amazing job.
Amazing, yeah.
Sticking to their ground.
Emily's point is extremely well taken, that in the case of both of these individuals, Feryal and Muhammad, the passion, the energy, and particularly I would say in her case. Now, in her case, I haven't talked about her as much because I don't think they had any really developed nonviolent resistance to speak of, and God knows it would be horrendously difficult to do it, but when she said nonviolence, all she meant was they weren't hitting back. So that's non-violence. So that's why I didn't talk about her, but the power of that woman, my God, and as you say, to live in that kind of tension. I mean, we had a hard time. I was glad I had a long bike ride afterwards. We had a hard time in 2 hours. Can you imagine? They've been living through this for 59 years. These people have been born under this kind of tension. So the fact that they're being nonviolent at all is amazing. It's a testament to human spirit. Let's see. Shannon, were you there? I didn't notice you. Okay, that's okay. Just sometimes with that new hat style you're wearing, I can't. Okay. Amy?
I thought you did a good job of answering, like, I think it was the last question.
Yes.
For Zionism.
Yes.
You gave the example of some of the former Israeli soldiers
Yep.
who was participating in the demonstration.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really great.
That was a good one. Someone asked, is there a cure for Zionism? Incidentally, the audience was much harder to handle than the presenters. It just shows you, when you sit here thinking about all of that, you get so angry that you're basically useless. The people who are actually getting shot, I mean, Muhammad was hit by these 3 salt bullets. He showed the wounds on his back in the film. The people actually in there doing it and getting shot at, somehow they rise above it and manage their emotions more successfully. So someone asked, is there a cure for Zionism? And the intent being to infuriate that gentleman in the front row. Muhammad said, he literally said, I mean, for coming from him who doesn't know English that well, it wasn't as corny as if one of us said it. He said, one of my best friends is an Israeli. There was a man who had been in the IDF, he'd been in the army, he knew that, but he came to the demonstrations, and he talked about somebody else coming to the demonstration holding the hand of an Israeli. Key point, I mean, way back in the first Intifada, that was one of the things that Mubarak insisted on. He said there's going to be no cursing, no stone throwing, and Jews and Arabs are going to do this together. Those were 3 conditions from the very get-go. And they did do it together. They found it very difficult to eat together, interestingly enough. They could go out and get arrested together, get killed together, sit down at the same table and eat together. It was a little hard, but he insisted that they do that. So yes, he answered that question very well. And there was another question that he answered, I think, even better, which is, again, was a hostile question. And the audience was trying to save him from the question by shouting this guy down. And he said, look, if I can talk to an IDF soldier who's pointing a machine gun at me, I should be able to talk to this guy in the front row and answer his question. And he was really much more into dialogue and education and raising consciousness than the people in the audience were. Yeah, Risa.
Yeah, further that, there's one point where I thought that he was the mediator.
Yes.
Like you were saying,
Yes,
like,
that's right.
yeah,
Calm down,
on
everyone.
one side where there's so,
Yep.
everyone has so much to learn.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah, you could almost see him being at a demonstration. He was telling the Shabab not to throw stones and telling the Israeli not to shoot. Yeah, Emily?
I don't know if everyone noticed this at the end, but the man in the front row, when he walked out,
Yeah.
he hit someone.
Oh, my gosh.
He hit the guy who was there from the International Solidarity Movement.
Whoa.
So I just found that extremely ironic and nonviolent talk, and also
Yeah.
very symbolic.
Yeah, he was the one who accused Muhammad of not being truthful when he said the Palestinians were nonviolent, and then he goes out and punches somebody in a public meeting. What are you going to do? Incidentally, I don't know if you noticed in the paper yesterday, I hope you didn't, you don't read it anymore, I hope, but there was an article, surveys were conducted in America and in certain Islamic countries, survey the general public and ask them, how many of you, would you accept bombing of civilians under extreme circumstances? And I think roughly speaking, 76% of Americans surveyed said they would, and something like 51% of Muslims said they would. Just keep that in the back of your mind next time some of these stereotypes come up. Yeah. So, okay, I think that was an extremely useful event. I was really thrilled and encouraged to see what they were trying to do, but I have to say, these people are almost up there with Tibet in the sense that this is nonviolence under probably the most difficult circumstances imaginable. I remember when Sami Awad was here a few years ago saying that how are you going to organize a nonviolent demonstration when you don't even have a telephone, when they've shut down your phone lines? And in fact, there have been some amazing cases of spontaneous self-organization, mostly by women who had to go out and shop for groceries and violated curfews, and next thing they know, everybody in the street everyone on the block has turned out with them. Jenna, did you have anything to add? Yes, let's talk about that one. No, I haven't read that. No. It's a Palestinian writer, right? Oh, yes. Yeah. 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 Yes. Yes. To paraphrase that just really quickly and without your skill with images, they've been very creative in their attempts in the demonstrations and not without a sense of humor. And one thing that they have attempted to demonstrate is the silence of the international community. And there's one slide where they had people dressed up in different costumes representing different countries, where they had, American flag, German flag, French flag, and everybody had their lips X'd out with tape. So that's probably one of the things that hurts them most is the paralysis of the international community. And we might ask ourselves why that is happening. But that does mean that when internationals go there, it makes a huge difference to them. Yes. Yeah. 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 That's a very useful strategy has been surprise, disconcerting. IDF units will get there and there'll be a demonstration and they won't anticipate it, they won't know how to handle it exactly. All they know how to do is bark out orders, and normally they're not terribly creative beyond that. Though to give them their due, I must say, I had a physical one time many years ago because I had signed up to be a CO and they were desperately trying to figure out something else for me. So they hoped that I had something physically wrong with me so they wouldn't have to give me my CO. Anyway, just to explain what I was doing in an Army induction center, getting a physical. And the guy in front of me online, we were about to give a blood sample and he said, I'm going to faint. And I said, why? He said, I faint every time I see blood. So sure enough, they took a little blood out of his arm and ran it flat on his back with his eyes wide open. He was conscious but absolutely paralyzed. And so clearly this is not prime material for the army, right? But it was embarrassing the whole unit, and the sergeant came over to get up, you. And of course, the guy's paralyzed. So we're starting to titter. And finally he said, all right, lie there. So these poor guys who have to carry out these orders, they're not given the tools that they need to deal with this very creatively. But I would like actually, thank you, Jenna, for reminding me, I would like actually to talk about what it is they are doing. They go down, for example, one of the really, really tragic things that's happening is the uprooting of olive trees. This is like tearing the heart out of a Palestinian. An olive tree is to a Palestinian what a cow is to an Indian. This is Mother Nature, our source of livelihood. This is where they respect life, and here it is being wrenched out by these horrific machines. And they go, and you saw a guy chaining himself to an olive tree. And then what happens? The IDF comes in, and they take bolt cutters and cut him off, cut the chain and lead him away. And so I did want to talk strategically about what they're trying to do, because they have gone down there and delayed the construction. Oh, rats. They've gone down there and delayed the construction of the wall, but they haven't stopped it yet. And let's do some strategic thinking for them, which we are in touch with them. This might be real, as to what could possibly be done to carry it further. They showed a picture of somebody who put himself in a contraption, which looked like a crucifix actually, and he was kind of staked into the ground. So he was lying in the way of bulldozers, and they couldn't get him out. And they learned these techniques from what people have done in Earth First here in this country and so forth. So the IDF comes and they see him, and it took them about 5 minutes to figure out how to get him unpinned and arrest him and lead it away. So they need to go somewhere. They need to take this to a different step. So on Tuesday, we'll do what I said we were going to do today, which is talk a little bit more about third-party nonviolent intervention and then restorative justice.